If you got through part one, welcome back. If you're just tuning in to part two, you might want to go back to part one and understand where this is going. Let's go.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
We will watch your career with great interest.
You are such a cutie.
This is where the fun begins.
It's showtime.
And here we go.
Welcome into part two of this Movie Geek special editions of the TCU, the Twisted Childhood Universe, and also the Childhood Nightmare Horror Universe. In part one, I talked about who was the originator for why I wanted to do this content, and we'll get into him a little later on. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, like, and if you've seen any of these movies and you actually like them, go ahead and leave a comment down below. So again, I did this universe because of, in that first episode I talked about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey becoming a little bit mainstream, and there was some backlash over it. So it got me thinking, for content purposes, of going back and looking at a childhood universe of horror. And it brought me down the rabbit hole, literally, of these B low-budgeted films. And I sat through all of these for your for your content. So you're welcome. So that you don't have to. But if any of these intrigue you and you want to watch them, go right ahead, but I am not going to tell you to do them. So, where we left off was the beginning of the ITN getting involved in independent films. It was a leading distribution for independent distribution of TV, and, got to a point where they started to open it up to independent film distribution companies. And so ITN became kind of the bigger one. It also kind of joined forces with some other companies. And again, they used a lot of the same actors. They used a lot of the same venues. They just dressed everything up so differently. And a lot of these movies are all different. There are some sequels to some things, and then there are just some liberties that should never have been taken with some of these. So let us get to kind of the first one out of the chute in 2019. Although there was many in this before we get to the TCU. But let's start with Tooth Fairy. No, not the Dwayne Johnson one. This is a actual Tooth Fairy movie, and this this actually spawned 5 total movies. Yep. So Nana starts to tell the legend of the evil Tooth Fairy who rips out teeth. Carla is sick of her crazy alcoholic stories and tries to leave. However, a power outage suggests something is amiss, something much more sinister than Carla could imagine. So, as you can definitely imagine, it is a Tooth Fairy trying to pull teeth out and take souls. So, if that wasn't bad enough, we're going to get the return of the Tooth Fairy in 2020. Yes, that lovely period of time. And I think a lot of these movies were written during 2020 because they come out very fast in 2021, 22, 23, and so on. So a lot of these got written around that time. This one actually got produced in 2020. The Tooth Fairy is back. 20 years after the events of the first movie, Corey, now grown up but mentally scarred, has gone to a class reunion. However, the Tooth Fairy is back, and this time you better have flossed properly. So basically, this guy who survives um, 20 years later has visions as this Tooth Fairy has come back and uh, is trying to kill his family. But at least it's a demonic one. And let me tell you, this version of the Tooth Fairy is so bad. And finally, guess what happens now? We get another sequel, Tooth Fairy: The Last Extraction, 2021. Corey and his daughter Sally decide to go on a spring break with friends. Uh, Diana, Christina, Toby, and Benny. Little did they know Corey's past is going to catch up to him. So now he gets his friends and his daughter, who survived the last movie. Oof. Yeah, I don't have any words. But it gets better. So now we come off of those three and we come into two totally different films in the same year. Tooth Fairy Queen of Pain 2022. This one is more so the three before this. Basically, it just looks like somebody threw on a horrible little mask, and because they're British, it talks very very low, and it was hard to understand at times. But apparently, all of these characters understood. Well, now we get this really sinister looking uh, zombie kind of Tooth Fairy. Um, an escaped lunatic who was once known for murdering and collecting teeth has escaped from mental asylum. Now a group of teachers on a trip find themselves in grave danger as they are stalked one by one, but in the middle of the mountains. Actually, sorry. The original three were a zombie um, Tooth Fairy. This one is the one I was just talking about, where it looks like somebody uh, had like this weird, creepy mask. And then because it was British and she was talking really low and mumbling, it was really hard to understand, but apparently the characters understood her. So, but that wasn't all. I think they filmed this together and they just threw some more actors in there that they used in the other films in different roles because the sequel was even worse. So it looked like they filmed these probably back to back. Sammy, a surviving teacher, rejoins her colleagues back at work. After hearing some odd noises around the classroom, Sammy feels she is being watched. When she hears the familiar knocking at the door, she realizes her nightmare is not over yet. Let's just say Sammy dies in this film. She does not actually survive this film. This film probably will not get a sequel if it hasn't already. So this genre or this, these movies probably will never be done again. So I did a little bit more research. I know it was a lot of research. Um, Darkness Falls came up in the research. It was a blockbuster movie in 2003. It has direct ties to Tooth Fairy lore. So that's why I mentioned it. It doesn't really have anything to do with ITN or the TCU in general, but I wanted to bring this up because Darkness Falls was actually a pretty good movie. In Maine, the residents of Darkness Falls are all aware of the legend of Matilda Dixon, an old woman who tragically murdered by a mob in the 1800s because the townspeople thought she was killing kids. Now Darkness Falls has to contend with Matilda's supernatural wrath. Childhood friends Kyle, played by Channing Clay, and Caitlin, played by Emma Caulfield, who you all know, return return home to uncover the truth behind the legend after Caitlin's little brother, Lee, played by Lee Cormie, has recurring nightmares about Matilda. So this actually was a mainstream film. It doesn't directly uh, fit into this narrative, but it does talk about uh, the Tooth Fairy in this, so that's why I'm bringing this up. Then there was a completely separate one in 2019 that had nothing to do with the other one. And this one was just as bad. So, 12-year-old Pamela, played by Nicole Munez, vacationing with her family, is startled to learn that year earlier, the Tooth Fairy slaughtered children for their teeth, and now she has returned. This is a parody movie by far, um, and Lockie Munro. He was in Scary Movie. He was in a lot of these parody type movies, during this time frame. So you would recognize him if you know him. But um, yeah, it's just it wasn't that good. All right, let's move on to Alice in Wonderland. So there are 4 movies in total, and one was made by the INT in the INT universe. The other 3 are outside of it, and the reason why I brought that up was because, again, going down the rabbit hole, dang, um, these movies came up. So in 2010, 2 movies were made. Malice in Wonderland, which is absolutely just, I have no idea what was going on in this movie. In London, and a cab hits a law student, played by Maggie Grace. I think she's a very talented actress, and or was anyway. Uh, she was in this film. When who then goes to a land filled with riffraff. Again, I don't know why this had anything to do with Alice in Wonderland, because it really had nothing to do with it. But it is in this list. Then Alice in Murderland, 2010, a killer crashes a sorority party in which invited guests dress like characters from the Lewis Carroll novel. It's the only tie to it. All these characters are literally just getting killed off one by one by the Mad Hatter. Yeah. So then 2016, Alice and the Dark Side of the Mirror. In 1905, a teen Alice moves to the Pacific Northwest and follows a strange man down a rabbit hole into Wonderland, a dark realm filled with characters from early 1900s America and the Northwest. Again, these movies made no sense whatsoever. None. None. But they weren't in the ITN, so... because that one was even worse. Alice in Terrorland, 2023. A recently bereaved teenage girl goes to live with her grandmother in a secluded woodland house, unaware that sinister forces lurk within. This is an ITN universe movie. Yeah. Just crazy. All right, so with that in mind, let's keep going. We got 3 movies of Humpty Dumpty. Yes. 2 of them are are connected. The other one has nothing to do with the others. But they have the same horrific looking Humpty Dumpty. But all 3 of them are not connected for some reason. I don't know. Or maybe that second one was, but I'll explain. So the Curse of Humpty Dumpty comes in at 2021. Wendy returns to her childhood home with her daughters after she is diagnosed with dementia. While they're there, they come across a mysterious doll that Wendy seems to have strange, fragmented memories of. As Wendy fights to collect the missing pieces of her past, the daughters discover the dark history of the sinister and deadly doll named Humpty Dumpty. So basically, think Chucky, but think like the worst looking it caricature of Humpty Dumpty. So basically, this woman with dementia is killing her daughters, albeit for this Humpty Dumpty doll. Now, the cult of Humpty Dumpty comes in at 2022, has nothing to do with any of them. A group of troubled teenagers are taken to a remote camp and soon learn that they're in the clutches of a cult that worships the demonic Humpty Dumpty. So again, they have this Humpty Dumpty character that looks like the first one but has nothing to do with, there's no connection to it that I saw other than Humpty Dumpty itself. So, now we get the madness of Humpty Dumpty. 2023, the sequel to The Curse. So, a young woman suffering from onset schizophrenia begins experiencing unnatural occurrences with a strange doll after moving back into her childhood home. So, this young woman is the granddaughter of the mother that had dementia in the first one, and it is just. So let's go to the next trilogies. Yes, this is actually all connected. Jack and Jill went up the hill, and these kids didn't come back down with water. They are murderous human beings. 2021, a group of grieving friends decide to visit a special site in the forest in order to reconnect with each other. However, upon entering the woods, they are stalked and hunted by the pair of killers. So, Jill is played by 3 different actresses in these movies, but Lee Hancock is Jack in these films, all 3 of them. So he stayed along for the ride. Antonia Willems was the Jill in this one. Then there was Jack and Jill 2, The Hills of Hell in 2022. After searching for her missing daughter, a lady and her search party discover the legend behind the murderous pair of Jack and Jill. Carol Verratti plays Jill in this film. And then 2023, 10 years after the last vicious killing on the hill, Jack and Jill are brought back to slaughtering the cast and crew of a live streaming internet show who are looking to uncover the secrets of the legend. Alicia Lafontaine plays Jill in this film. This film ends with the survivor of this internet live group wanting to be the mother of Jack and Jill. It is just atrocious. All right, let's move on. So we got the Wizard of Oz. Yes, Wizard of Oz. So we've got Oz in 2024. Dorothy faces a twisted wizard and inner demons in a surreal world, racing to protect her humanity before it's too late. Trust me, it was too late. Wizard of Oz, The Dead Walk, 2025. Yes, last year. Dorothy is tricked into unleashing the sinister Tin Man and Scarecrow into the real world, only to learn their bloodthirsty cravings. Basically, Tin Man and Scarecrow are doing Dorothy's work here. It's so bizarre. Not really, though, because they are trying to get Dorothy to help them. It's so bizarre. Speaking of bizarre, let's go to Cinderella. Cinderella has 2 movies. They're not connected at all. But they did occur in 2024. We got Cinderella's Revenge. Cinderella is pushed too far by her stepmother and stepsisters, which causes her to abandon her glass slipper and ask her fairy godmother, played by Natasha Henstridge, for help seeking bloody vengeance. Uh, um, if you wanted to ever kill anybody with a glass slipper, these are the movies for you. I mean, she's literally killing people with glass slippers. And I can say the same thing occur in this other one. It's not even a sequel. It has a completely different story, as you'll find out. Cinderella's Curse. Cinderella is a simple and beautiful young woman who dreams of finding love and happiness. Unfortunately, she is mistreated and abused by her evil stepmother and stepsisters on a daily basis and has no way of escaping their cruelty. However, when she discovers a flesh-bound ancient book that can summon a fairy godmother, her luck changes. The fairy godmother grants Cinderella a wish, and she chooses revenge. So this godmother does not look like Natasha Henstridge in this one. She is a demonic godmother, and so you just know right there it's terrible. But Cinderella basically goes on a Kill Bill spree, where she's just literally killing everyone with glass slipper, her crown. Like it's just downright terrible. And I watch these for you, so remember that. Then we kind of have more of these princess movies. The Death of Snow White 2025, hunted by her evil stepmother, Snow White joins forces with 7 murderous dwarfs to survive the horror of the Dark Forest. And Fairest of them all. This one was so chaotic, I don't even know how to even begin to describe this movie. 2025, the Mad Hatter has hunted down princesses from fairy tale land. Ariel, Bella, Alice, Cinderella, Snow White, Tinker Bell, and Sleeping Beauty, and makes them fight in a Hunger Games style death match. Who is the fairest of them all? My God, I don't even want to describe this film and who survives, but it was just so bad. So bad. Other nursery rhymes that I found that have nothing to, or weren't listed um, in any of the lists that I went through. But luckily, Tubi had these. And again, Tubi is just so ridiculous with their movies. Let's look at these. The Curse of Sleeping Beauty in 2016. A man inherits an ancient mansion and an ancient curse stemming back to the Crusades. As he battles to keep demons in the house at bay, he tries to awaken the beautiful Briar Rose to rescue her from her terrifying netherworld. Yeah, crazy. How about Cupid 2020? And the reason why I didn't mention, like in the first episode, I mentioned that I'm not going to mention all the Krampus movies and horrible horror movies that had Santa Claus. There's just too many, and they're not really listed in anything. But Cupid was listed in 2020 after being horrendously embarrassed by the mean girl at school, Faye. A practicing witch summons the evil Cupid to take revenge on all those who wronged her. So basically, she wants all of them to feel unloved. And basically, Cupid just, kills basically all of them until she figures out how to stop him. Just terrible. Three Blind Mice, 2023. Abby is going cold turkey. Her family has taken her into a cabin in the woods so she can be away from her troubles. However, little does she know, Three Blind Mice is more than just a fairy tale, and they may be next on the menu. So, 3 psychotics dressed as mice go on a killing spree. Next, Mary Had a Little Lamb, 2023. LA radio host and crew set out to learn the truth behind some disappearances for a true crime show. They soon discover they have far more to learn when they meet Mary and her little lamb. So basically, this woman named Mary, who had a disfigured son, who she called Lamb, dressed him up as a lamb, and he was the bringer of death. Moving on. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Death in Porridge, 2024. When a group of friends break into a house in the middle of nowhere, they discover that they have had made a huge mistake because the house belongs to a family of psychotic killers. Goldilocks is absolutely insane in this movie, and the bears are her instrument of death. Little Mermaid 2024. After an archaeologist, Dr. Eric Prince, and his students uncover a ancient pagan temple in the depths of the Caribbean, Eric falls for a mysterious woman who resembles a mermaid, and he and his team encounter at sea. So there's really no references to the movie at all in this, so I'm not sure why this was even labeled Little Mermaid. She's not little. She's not a kid. Like it's, there's no Sebastian and everything else. There's just nothing that has anything to do with it. But it just has the Little Mermaid. Peter Rabbit. A group of former school friends reunite in a secluded mansion after the death of one of their former classmates. However, their mourning is cut short as masked maniacs controlled by a deranged cult arrive with one intention to slaughter them all. Will any of the former school pals survive? So Peter survives a fall off a bridge as a prank, and his sister and him go rabid. Okay. Oh, and I forgot these gems. Popeye has 3 movies, and they have nothing to do with each other. Completely different takes on Popeye. So let's start with, and they're all in 2025. Popeye the Slayer Man, 2025. Friends find themselves in a fight for their lives when they sneak into an abandoned spinach factory to investigate the urban legend of the Sailor Man. Jason Robert Stevens plays the Sailor Man in this movie. Then a completely different Popeye movie, Shiver Me Timbers, 2025. In Northern California during the summer of 1986, Olive Oyl, along with her cinema-obsessed friends and brother Castor, embark on a once-in-a-lifetime camping trip to witness the dazzling meteor shower accompanying the arrival of Halley's Comet. But what starts as a serene evening of stargazing quickly turns into a horrifying nightmare when a meteor from the comet transforms Popeye into a terrifying and unstoppable killing machine, played by Tony Greer. The killing in this movie was absolutely grotesque and just downright awful. The CGI, the blood splattering, the kills in general were just, ugh. They were awful. Finally, Popeye's Revenge 2025, when a group of counselors attempt to renovate an old house into a summer camp, they are haunted by the legend of Popeye. And I'm telling you, all 3 have different caricatures of Popeye in these films. I just wonder why somebody thought it would be interesting to do Popeye's a killer. Okay, so without further ado, let's get out of the ITN universe and we'll get back to. I just want to make sure I'm done with all these. Yes, I am. Let's go back to the TCU. Because the TCU is going to live on, I'm assuming the ITNU will also survive, but it will not have the full genre or the hype that this Pooh universe now has seemed to garner. Again, I said in the last one that the reason why I kind of did this was because of Frank Waterford, who came up with the idea to do Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, but it got a mainstream uh, audience and got listed for Golden Raspberry at the Razzies. And for some reason, there was a lot of controversy about it because, again, it was a very low budgeted film, and why would you put it up against mainstream bombs? I get it. But when you put it out in the theaters and you put it out in, streaming on Peacock, it's kind of things you get. However, Peacock has continued to hold most of the TCU movies, and we're going to get into how about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, 2024, the sequel that just got even worse. Not wanting to live in the shadow anymore, Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Owl, and Tigger take their fight to the town of Ashdown, leaving a bloody trail of death and mayhem in its wake. Tigger is absolutely insane in this film. Like, the kills that he does is just crazy. So, yeah. Next, we have Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare 2025. This movie made no sense whatsoever. Really didn't really have anything to do with. Really didn't have anything to do with, the book, except for using the character names, and I'll explain. So the writer of this um, was plot centered around Wendy searching for her brother Michael, who had been abducted by Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell will be was heavily obese and recovering from drugs, while she was hooked on heroin and convinced it was pixie dust. It was a total just nightmare. It had a $250,000 budget um, and was filmed in the UK. Bambi: The Reckoning 2025. Yeah. Um, yeah. The plot follows a woman named Zaya and her son Benji, who must fight to survive when they find themselves as prey to a mutated, grieving, killing machine of a deer following a car wreck. So Bambi's mother was not shot; she was actually hit by a car. So, um, this movie, this movie was inspired by Netflix's The Ritual. So, again, I laugh at this, but I sat through these movies, and trust me, classify them as C, D horror films. Let's just call it what it was. Low budgeted, original, but just a load of crap. Before I get into what is to come for the Pooh universe, I'm going to mention this. Now, there is kind of a subgenre which is focused on Mickey Mouse. and I'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted to mention that not listed in the TCU, but actually was made and is kind of connected, but not connected. It's kind of a weird thing, but Piglet was made 2025. On Kate's 21st birthday camping trip, her friends encounter Piglet, a monstrous human-pig hybrid who brutally murders one of them. They uncover Piglet's origin, and Kate must confront her past to survive the relentless killer. So this Piglet is completely different than the one in the Pooh universe, but basically has the same kind of thought process as he's just a massive killer. And maybe you might see him in that TCU, but I'm not sure. Then there were two Hook movies. One was Hook 2025 as well. After murdering John Darling and losing his hand to Peter Pan, Lily, the daughter of Peter and Wendy, now will face carnage from the drug-induced revenge-seeking James Hook, her biological father, until he marries Wendy Darling. So basically, Jack Hook fathered Wendy and now is trying to kill Lily, Wendy's daughter. And he's drug induced, and it's now I understand why maybe they didn't link it to the TCU, but it's there. Captain Hook and the Cursed Tales 2025 as well. After his defeat by Admiral Smee, Captain James Hook finds refuge in a small town where he forms an alliance with a local man seeking vengeance. As they evade Smee's forces, sword fights and ancient curses will challenge their quest for revenge. This one was actually tolerable. Not great, but then again, with most of these movies, being tolerable actually works. So, okay. Now I want to get into the Mickey verse. So, again, went down a rabbit hole on this one because there were some mainstream ones that were on Peacock, and I think one of them made their debut in the theater, which was Mousetrap in 2024. But let me get to the movies that are listed under the Mickey Mouse part of this universe. So there's kind of, like I said, that kind of genre. 2024, I Heart Willie, an obsessed psychopath who unwillingly leads her friends into a deadly mousetrap where pure evil seeks to harvest their skin, and the horrific origin story of most beloved cartoon character of modern times. So basically, this guy is Buffalo Bill, but is dressed up as Mickey Mouse. This girl, psychopath, lures her friends in, or maybe they're not her friends, as we find out toward the end. She wanted to meet Willie, and then she subsequently helps Willie kill her friends and Willie. So Willie becomes Mickey, obviously, and she becomes Minnie. And the movie ends with them killing a family who gets stuck on the countryside, and we never see them again. I will say that of all these movies that are from the ITN and the TCU, this one actually was pretty decent. Like the plot twist at the end where she actually joins him is kind of refreshingly interesting, where he's just not killing them all and going his ways. But so again, this movie actually was pretty good. I'm not saying it was great, but it was or maybe the best one of the ITN ones. But yeah. So now we get Mousetrap 2024. stuck working the late shift at an amusement park arcade. Alex receives a surprise visit from her friends on her 21st birthday. However, their night of fun soon turns into a fight for survival when a killer dressed as Mickey Mouse crashes the party. So this movie is told from the view of one of Alex's friends, and she tells of what happened that night. So the manager of this arcade goes upstairs to watch Steamboat Willie, and he's got all this Mickey Mouse finale, fandom up there, and then while he's watching the VHS, the wire short circuit, and then he becomes a killer. I think the worst part of this film was it's kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's as well, where he's chasing them around in like ball pits and all this other stuff. And the worst part about it is he can teleport because every time they they flash a light at him with a flashlight, he disappears and then reappears. Like it's just, whew, mind-boggling. 2025, you got Mouse of Horrors. So, I'm going to go back to this. So, Mouseboat Massacre. A young woman battling a drug addiction suddenly begins to see a mutated mouse-human hybrid who infests her life. Those around her begin to drop like flies. Yes. So, here's another movie that has a psychopathic Mickey who just literally is killing everyone from his boat. Screenboat 2025 as well. A late night boat ride into New York City becomes a struggle for survival when a seemingly harmless mouse transforms into a dangerous monster. Passengers must fight for their lives. David Howard Thornton is in this film as Mickey Mouse in this film, and he is the Terrifier. He was also in another film, and I didn't mention this, and I don't know why I didn't write it, but he was in The Mean One. It's basically the story of the Grinch. I didn't mention that, and I don't know why, but yeah. The Mouse of Horrors. In a seaside town, chaos erupts as Dr. Rupert's monstrous creation stalks the night, harvesting body parts for a sinister purpose. No one is safe. This has a crossover not directly related to the Pooh universe, but maybe it does in the future. But Mickey and Pooh fight like Freddy versus Jason for the approval of Dr. Rupert, who is trying to create brides for Mickey and Pooh. I don't know what to say anymore. Oh, that's right. We've got plenty of movies left. Oh my goodness, look at this. So, what is upcoming in 2026, you ask? The reason why this whole episode was created? Well, let's look at it. Pinocchio Unstrung 2026. The only the only note of interest in this movie is that Robert Englund was cast in 2024 as Cricket. Richard Brake was cast as Geppetto. The movie is going to be released in 2026. For some reason, hold on. James, the grandson of Geppetto, who meets Geppetto's magical doll, Pinocchio, and introduces him into the outside world. Pinocchio's naivety gets the better of him and embarks on a murderous crusade to eliminate all things that are bad. Yeah. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3 will be out there. Holy God, look at the lineup for this one. This will have a larger budget than the last two films and will include Hufflepuff, Weasley, Kenga, and Rue. Moving on. Awakening Sleeping Beauty. There is no TBA on this one, so it could be 2027. Yeah. This one was made from the documentary Waking Sleeping Beauty. Not a lot of details have been mentioned about this, but it will be coming. Snow White Returns. Uh, they released a poster for this movie, but have no details yet. So could be 2027, could be this year. You never know. Alice and the Mad Hatter, also TBA. This is a horror film that was inspired by opera, Manic, and Maxine. Tigger's Return. This actually probably is going to be brutal. This will be a standalone Tigger movie after the success of Blood and Honey 2. Oh, God. And Untitled Mary Poppins movie will be coming out. It'll be a part of the oh my God. I don't even want to know. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare sequel is also planned 2026 or 27. Finally, and this is coming out this year, guys. I'm not joking. Pooh Universe. Monsters Assemble. This is an Avengers type movie on the level of the MCU. The plot will include characters from each of the preceding installments as the murderous versions of characters from the childhood fairy tale team up to hunt down the individual survivors of their massacres and seek to take over the world. The team of nightmarish monsters will include Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Piglet, Owl, Bambi, Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, Hook, Pinocchio, and the Cricket. We'll also introduce Rabbit, Sleeping Beauty, the Mad Hatter, and Cheshire Cat, and others to be cast later. Possibly Mary Poppins, and just the thought of a MCU-like movie is just terrifying. But if it comes out, I will watch it for you people and have a review. Because that's what I do. That's what I do. All right. So that concludes these two episodes. And again, there was a lot of movies in there. I sat through all of them for this content. And I wanted to bring it to light because, again, whereas the movies are bad, they're low budgeted, poorly acted. I don't know maybe if it's the actors themselves or it's just the writing on these films. They do use the same actors and actresses. They do use the same locations, which is great for budgeting. So again, it keeps the budget low. But again, the creativity of bringing these characters to murderous life, obviously is debatable. Like, why would you think this would be good to do? But at the same time, give them credit for doing it. Now, the storylines in some of these movies are just downright unwatchable. So again, that could be a cause for why a lot of you people have probably never seen any of these films and probably will never do. But if you are on Tubi, there's literally all of them there. And then you can just follow down the rabbit hole of all the horrible movies that they have listed on Tubi. Because there's so many of them. All right, what do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy this little history lesson down the thing? And again, you know, give them credit where credit is due. For being creative. But it's about all I'm going to say about this universe. So let me know down below. Um, I, I've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe here. A lot of movies to watch this weekend, and obviously I'm going to try to go live for both the Razzies and the Oscars coming up. I also have my Oscar and Razzie review predictions, and then I'll have my follow-ups afterwards. So there's a ton of stuff coming out, and we're going to get to 150 episodes very shortly, probably by next week or early the following week. So it's been a crazy ride, and believe me, watching these movies was even crazier. So hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time at the